Welcome back to my channel at The Movie Optimist, where I try and find the silver linings in even the worst of films. Really quickly, forgive me for the setup today. As you can see, my apartment is a little barren. I am in the middle of a move, and this is the last review that I will ever be doing in this apartment, and it is bittersweet because it is in this apartment that I really got my footing and started this YouTube channel the way I always wanted to. And yeah, it's bittersweet, but that's not why you're here. Let's get into it. I just got done watching the newest film, 28 Years Later. In a lot of ways, this is Danny Boyle's version at a coming-of-age movie where it's really about this boy that's forced to become a man really fast. In a lot of ways, like The Breakfast Club or Stand By Me. It's Danny Boyle trying to tell that kind of story within this really messed up zombie movie that's now the third in a trilogy of films. Now, I loved the first one. I hated the second one because it felt nothing like the original, which you could totally tell Danny Boyle wasn't a part of because it was just so far detached from that. Now it has its fans, but I'm not one of them. So seeing the trailers to this film, it just looked like it got back to form, and that's because Danny Boyle came back for this. So I was already really excited about going to see it. Danny Boyle is so unique in the way he films things. It's no secret he filmed the first 28 Days Later with a camcorder because he wanted it to feel like you were watching the movie through CCTV cameras. And they filmed this one with iPhones because of the ghosting effect that iPhones have, where if you notice, it looks like you're recording things on an iPhone at a different frame rate than a cinema camera because everything feels a little bit cheaper than you would see on like a $50,000 camera with $100,000 worth of equipment on it. It has a very intimate feel to it, and this movie is also a lot smaller in scale because it's not like an outbreak taking place in a city. It really all takes place on this small island and in like the woods. Like it just feels a lot smaller in scale because there's not these big grand things happening in it with these big grand set pieces, but the intimacy works for this story that Danny Boyle's trying to tell. And like I said, it is a coming of age story. Essentially in this film, Aaron Taylor Johnson's son turns 12 years old, and that's the age that fathers take their sons out to the mainland off the safety of the island where they are to get their first kill. The dad is trying to teach the son how to kill these things, and in doing so, he will become a man and then can assume more responsibility on the island, like fishing or woodworking or anything that's going to benefit the village. But first, he's got to get this kill. So, at a specific time of day, when it is low tide, this formation of rocks forms in between the island and the mainland, which allows you to travel back and forth. Now, when it's high tide, you can't do that because the water's so high, it'll just sweep you out to sea. So in the very early morning, when it's low tide, Aaron Taylor Johnson takes his son out to get this first kill. However, upon getting there, they are quickly overwhelmed by a bunch of infected, and the kid is scared. He can't do what needs to be done to have his dad's back, so they have to wind up about facing and running for their lives back towards the island where they're safe. Now, upon getting back, the boy learns that his mother is very sick, and he hears rumor that there is a doctor back on the mainland where all the infected are that could potentially heal his mother. She's essentially having hallucinations, she's going crazy, and he just wants her to get better. He loves his mom. So in the middle of the night, when everyone is not paying attention, he's like, you know what? I'm afraid of that mainland, but my will to want to save my mother is more important than my fear. So they sneak out, just the two of them, because no one else would let them do it if he asked because it's too dangerous. Upon getting to the mainland again about halfway through this movie, he now has to avoid all of the infected long enough to get his mom, who's also going crazy. He's like technically taking care of a crazy person. He has to get her to this doctor before the infected can get to him, and it's kind of like a race against time, and it is so effective. There is a lot of really great scares in this film, both from jump scares and earned tension building moments. The infected in this movie are unlike anything I've ever seen before, and genuinely one of the creepiest versions of the infected. Danny Boyle just figured out a way to make them feel unique and fresh, and unlike every other incarnation of zombies you've ever gotten, the way they move is so haunting. Everything about this film just works. The coming of age story about this kid getting put in these increasingly difficult obstacles, trying to protect his mother, forcing him to grow up faster than he probably would have, forcing him to face his fears faster than his dad could have helped him to. It all just really worked in this genre that otherwise feels so overstuffed. How many many zombie movies do we have that all feel the same? We have Train to Busan, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead, Zombieland, Dead Alive, every Resident Evil movie, and a lot of the times they all just feel kind of the same. It's a zombie apocalypse, how do the survivors survive it? So to find these unique movies, and I'm not saying that this movie is anything like Warm Bodies, but it just feels refreshing when you find a new way to tell a story within this universe. And I'm sure there have been zombie movies that had kids coming of age. One I can think of off the top of my head was The Scout's Guide to Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse. But that movie played more like a comedy, where this movie took the source matter very serious, and the payoff was so much more satisfying than the Scout's Guide movie, because that was more of, like I said, like a comedy. It wasn't taking itself seriously. It just worked here. It fired on all cylinders. There were genuinely moments in this movie where I was terrified, wanting to cover my eyes because I didn't know what was going to happen, because at the end of the day, it's this little kid trying to protect his mom against these infected people that are 3 times his size. And that's another thing that really worked about this movie. This kid is incredible. He's not just in a zombie movie. He's also, like I said, in a coming of age film where he has to go through so many different emotions, both fearful, upset, brave. He starts this movie in one place where he's afraid of the outside world, and then by the end of it, he's fearless. And you have to do that in an hour and 45-minute movie, and that requires some really good acting. And this kid is a newcomer, so the fact that he was able to portray this and all the emotions that were required of him is just infinitely impressive. And on one hand, a testament to how good this kid is as an actor, but how great Danny Boyle is at directing his actors and being able to get this kind of performance out of a kid. And then, as horrific as this movie is, it also has such a heartfelt ending where there's so many emotions getting thrown at you, and I was borderline in tears at the end of this film. Like, it was very, very powerful, and I don't know the last time I've seen a zombie movie end that powerful. Like, I want to say Shaun of the Dead at the end with his friend, but it was played for laughs, whereas in this is played for a very different reason that's a lot more serious. And yeah, the people I were with, my friend and his girlfriend, she was hysterical crying. This movie also does something different than other zombie movies, where usually you're following the same group of people throughout the whole thing. And yes, you are following this kid throughout this whole movie, but the first quarter of this film is predominantly Aaron Taylor Johnson and his son. Then the second act of this film is the son and his mom. And then the third act of this film is the son and somebody else, who I won't spoil here, but it plays in 3 different acts with 3 different people. So that's really the one gripe I have with the movie, is that after the first 40 minutes, you don't see Aaron Taylor Johnson really ever again until the very end of the film. And for me personally, he was sorely missing, because for me, again, he was my favorite part of the film. That's not to say I don't love the story of this kid finding the bravery to help his mom, but having him with Aaron Taylor Johnson was just when the movie was at like 100% for me. Whereas, and I really like Jodie Comer as an actress, and I thought that she was great here, but she didn't do anything to really elevate the movie for me. It was really resting on the kid's shoulders. And when you take the badass out of the equation, and I'm not saying the kid doesn't become a badass, he does, but you go a long period of time with them just on the run, whereas when you were with Aaron Taylor Johnson, you got a lot more badass moments of him like killing all these infected people. And I'm not saying that that's a detriment to the movie, but for my taste personally, I wished he was there for the majority of it. I'm not going to spoil why he's not there, but like I said, he is taken out after the first 40 minutes. I'm not saying killed or anything. They just come up with a reason why he can't be there, and he was just missed for me. So that is literally the only part of this movie I didn't like. Ralph Fiennes is also in it, and he's absolutely incredible in this. At his age, he looks so good and so jacked. It's unbelievable. He's also the #1 actor on the planet that is without an Oscar, that is truly deserving of one, and it's crazy. They did film a sequel to this film already called 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, and it's coming out rather soon because it's already shot. So that's something to look forward to. And although this movie does end with a small cliffhanger leading into the next film, the coming of age arc is wrapped up nicely, so you still feel like you get a full meal. You still feel satisfied by the end of it, and I, for one, am so excited to see where it goes next. This movie is genuinely scary. It's going to scare the balls off you. with great performances, great action. The cinematography in this film is gorgeous, but I don't have to tell you that. You could tell just by looking at the trailer that this movie is genuinely beautiful to look at. Yeah, guys, I really love this movie. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It's like right there in terms of like teetering back and forth between me wanting to say this is the best horror movie of the year and Sinners. I do think Sinners overtakes it a little bit just because of the world building that Sinners does and the love of music that's infused in that movie. But this is a close second, and if you're looking for your next fix in great horror, look no further. 28 years later is it. Do not walk to go to the movies to see this, run. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you excited for this film? Has my review swayed your opinion in wanting to see it or not this weekend? If it has, I'd love to talk about it. And as always, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And yeah, the next time you see me, I'm gonna be in a new apartment with an even cooler setup. So stay tuned for that. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll catch you next time.